This is Business Incorporated, live to you from Channel's television headquarters in Lagos. I am Bolaji Akinwale. Coming up, the International Monetary Fund says global outlook remains weak. Also on the program, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria visits the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Plus, Exotics Partners examines the states of Nigerian banks. We'll begin with the International Monetary Fund, which says that it maintained its forecast for weak global growth and warned that further stagnation will fuel more popular sentiment against trade and immigration that will stifle activity, productivity, and innovation. In the latest reports of its World Economic Outlook, the IMF says that a drop in U.S. growth for 2016 due to a weak first half performance will be offset by strengthening in Japan, Germany, Russia, India, and some other emerging markets. The fund kept its overall global growth forecast unchanged at 3.1% for 2016 and 3.4% for 2017 after cutting its outlook for 5 straight quarters.
Global growth remains weak, even though it shows no noticeable deceleration over the last quarter. The New World Economic Outlook sees a slowdown for the group of advanced economies in 2016 and an offsetting pickup for emerging and developing economies. Taken as a whole, the world economy is moving sideways. Without determined policy action to support economic activity over the short and longer terms, subpar growth at recent levels risks feeding on itself through the negative economic and political forces it is unleashing. U.S. growth is disappointed in 2016, but is partially offset by smaller upside surprises in Europe and Japan. Outside of the advanced economies, emerging Asia has done better, whereas sub-Saharan Africa as a whole has not, dragged down by its big commodity exporters, despite a number of smaller countries benefiting from lower oil prices and doing quite well.
Still from the fund, it said that it has cut the 2017 economic growth forecasts for Nigeria. In its latest World Economic Outlook, it says that Nigeria's economy is expected to contract by 1.7% this year and expand 0.6% in 2017. Less than 1.1% earlier predicted. The global lender also says the global economic growth will remain weak this year following a slowdown in the United States and Britain's vote to leave the EU. The IMF expects the world's economy to expand by 3.1%, unchanged from its July projection, while a slight recovery of 3.4% is expected in 2017. Okay, Ghana's inflation rate should decline to 13.5% by the end of the year from 16.9% in August. Now that's according to the head of the IMF's Ghana mission. It says that the country should also reach the government's inflation target by the middle of 2017. The central bank's inflation target stands at 8%, plus or minus 2 percentage points. Ghana is in year 2 of a 3-year IMF program worth around $918 million, meant to restore fiscal stability after a fall in commodity prices hurt the economy. Okay, let's see what is going on in Europe at this time as DWTV financial correspondent Ulrich Bat joins me from the Frankfurt Stock Exchange to take a look at how the markets is doing at the moment. Good to see you, Ulrich. Now, the financial markets around the globe are discussing the IMF report, which sees growth
nice to be with you. Thank you.
At 3.1% this year and 3.4% for 2017. What is the conversation like in Europe?
The conversation is that I think the people share the sentiment of the IMF, the fact that the advanced economies are having trouble. Some of the emerging markets are picking up, so the world economy in total not looking so bleak, but of course the picture here for Europe or for the United States, it's not a good one. Even if one can say that the IMF is wrong in its forecasts as often as most other forecasters are, it's constantly revising its previous forecasts, as are banks, economists, or economists from universities. Still, that's no comfort. People here in Europe would like to see more demand, particularly in China, and of course for German exporters or exporters from Europe to the United States. The fact that the United States is being pulled back in the growth forecast by actually quite a big margin is not such good news at all here.
Now, investors are digesting the hawkish comments from the U.S. Federal Reserve officials and the reports that policymakers in Europe were looking at tapering asset purchases before the expected March end of its quantitative easing program. Now, talk to us about how the markets are reacting to these news.
They are reacting negatively because the Frankfurt market, for example, here was trending downwards. It's now, when I look at the graph, yeah, it's recovering a little bit, but one is looking very closely at what the Federal Reserve in the United States might do. An interest rate hike in December now seems more likely with these comments, and of course what the European Central Bank would do. These unconfirmed reports that it's going to be dialing back asset purchases, that comes as a real surprise here to the people in the market. It goes contrary to all the remarks that were made by ECB President Mario Draghi at his recent press conference, and he seemed actually to be